Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining us this morning. And thank you to the Tiger Squadron for that just terrific flyover. It was great to see. As I'm sure you all are aware, the Reagan Library unfortunately had to close its doors to the public earlier this year due to the coronavirus pandemic. No news to you. To this day, we're still not sure when we will be allowed to reopen the Reagan Library. But that said, it was still critically important for the library to seek Ventura County's approval to host today's in-person ceremony to honor our nation's veterans and our military, as nothing mattered more to President Reagan than supporting our nation's heroes. While we succeeded in convincing the state of California that Veterans Day simply had to be honored here today, for health and safety reasons, the size of our audience had to be limited to no more than 100 people. That's okay. Had the state limited today's gathering to only 5 or 10, we'd still find ourselves here this morning. And I know that our special guests, who traveled all the way from Texas to be here with us, would still have made the effort, given the importance of honoring the men and women in our hearts and in our minds today. For those joining us virtually, hello. Those online this morning, and there are thousands more who are joining us alongside each of you online. Thank you for spending your time with us this morning. Before we begin, if you would, please join me in thanking Royal High School's Wind Ensemble and the Santa Susana Advanced Women's Choir and Abbey Road a cappella group for such a great socially distanced beginning to this morning's program. If you would, please stand, and I mean stand, not kneel, before the American flag, recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and hear our national anthem. The Ronald Reagan Marine Corps League Detachment number 597 will parade the colors. Parade the colors.
March time, march, detail, halt, left, hey.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars smooth the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets were glad, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof to the
retire the colors.
Recover. Right. Hey. Forward. March.
Thank you. Please be seated. Before we go further, there are a few people I'd like to recognize who are special guests with us this morning who have helped make our Veterans Day ceremony here at the Reagan Library possible for many years. A special thank you to Lisa Pate and Bevan Abbey for providing today's terrific musical performances. Thank you. All of the active duty military from Naval Base Ventura County, thank you for being here today as well. The mayor of Simi Valley, Keith Mashburn, I know, there you are, thank you. Great to see you, Keith. Simi Valley Council members Mike Judge and Ruth Luevanos. Former Congressman Elton Gallegly and his wife Janice. Janice. Congressman Mike Garcia's wife, Rebecca. Rebecca, thanks for coming. I'd also like to thank Congressman Crenshaw's wife, Tara, for being with us today, especially because it's her birthday, so happy birthday to you, Tara. For those of you watching this ceremony from home, who saw the terrific slideshow before today's program of our nation's heroes. We hope you enjoyed them, courtesy of our social media followers who sent in the many pictures of their loved ones who served our nation in uniform. And of course, a special thank you to all of our veterans in the audience today. We thank you for your honor, your bravery, and your dedication to our country and our freedoms. We salute all of you. Recognizing the importance of Veterans Day, President Reagan said, and I quote, "The willingness of our citizens to give freely and unselfishly of themselves, even their lives, in defense of our democratic principles, gives this great nation continued strength and vitality. From Valley Forge to Vietnam, through war and peace, valiant Americans have answered the call to duty with honor and dignity. Americans throughout this great land set aside Veterans Day for special remembrance of the men and women who have served to protect our freedom. The sound of bugles playing taps will pierce the air at countless ceremonies across the country and at our bases overseas in tribute to those who gave their lives in order to safeguard human liberty. On this special day, our hearts and thoughts are also turning to those who were disabled while serving their country. Their sacrifices and hardships endure, and daily earn anew the honor and compassion of a grateful nation. With a spirit of pride and gratitude, we honor all of our veterans. In honor of these men and women, those who are currently fighting, those who are missing, those who have perished, and those who are veterans, may I please ask for a moment of silence. Thank you. And on to today's program. In May of this year, Mike Garcia was sworn in as the representative of California's 25th Congressional District, which is home to the Reagan Library. We could not have been more pleased with that election because, like Ronald Reagan, central casting could not have found a more dedicated patriot to represent our district. This highly decorated United States naval officer and leader, served his country with distinction and became known as one of the most talented fighter pilots in the United States Navy. We are delighted to have Mike with us today. Congressman?
Well, thank you, John. This is truly an honor to be here on the grounds of the Reagan Library. This is effectively my Graceland, if you will. And I come to you today not only as a representative of this district, but as also a proud and humble combat veteran. And it's great to be here with my friend Dan Crenshaw, who's also a fellow warrior, a patriot, and also a citizen legislator now with me in the halls of Congress. So Dan, thank you for making this trip out here and joining us on this special occasion. Today of all days, it's imperative that we come together as a nation to remember those who have served, to pay respect and honor their families, to those who have served, sacrificed, and loved on this country, and more importantly, to help us all heal little by little in the wake of our wars. We are blessed to live in this, the greatest nation on the planet. Our debt to our fighting men and women goes back over 200 years when hardworking American patriots came together to fight for their freedoms, and more importantly, fight for our freedoms. For 244 years, the United States of America has grown and prospered. We have led the world in the pursuit of happiness and establishing liberty not only on our territories, but around the globe. We have saved Europe from tyranny twice, defended democracies during the Cold War, and have combated terrorism over the last 20 years in defense of our homeland. And most recently, we have eradicated the physical caliphate from the monstrous ISIS threat. We have done so only because our brave men and women, the best of us, have been willing to stand on that wall and protect our nation, even if it meant losing their own lives. We must hold their memories and their service in our souls and keep their sacrifices in our hearts so that the fruits live on from this day to the end of days for all future generations of Americans. But today is not a day of mourning, but rather one to honor the men and women who have fought for us with valor. They may not have perished, but they have all lost something, and we have all lost someone. And as I look around today, I see the strength of this beautiful nation. I see the free-flowing love that we have for each other as Americans and the resulting power that brings us. The power of patriotism flows in our veins, and it's a shared blessing between countrymen. And it's the ultimate deterrent against those who threaten us. It really is Reagan's peace through strength, derived by the people and on the back of our troops. And unfortunately, in these divided times, there are those who have lost hope. There are those who question the resolve of this country, question the purpose of this country. They question whether or not there are any real heroes left. And to those folks who question us, I say to them, look no further than the men and women in uniform today who have solemnly sworn to carry on our legacy and secure our future. And while our nation is currently laden by the drag of internal strife, these men and women are the watchmen protecting us from the bears just outside of our tent, both within our borders and overseas. These bears, those who threaten us, are well served to not ever underestimate the resolve and lethality of our military service members. Fearing our enemies is natural, but we must collectively have the courage to overcome our fears and overcome our enemies. We overcome through courage, and we overcome through action. Whether it's a hostile military or a terrorist threat, or today a virus that we can't see, we must not forget that we are Americans, and we don't lose. We may bleed, we may suffer tragic losses, and we may mourn as a nation the deaths of our sons and daughters as our precious soldiers serve overseas and sometimes don't come back. But as long as we gather every year like we are here today, and as long as we muster the courage to move forward through the fear, we will always be reminded that we fight together as Americans. I'm reminded of a famous quote by John Stuart Mills where he eloquently states that war is an ugly thing, but it's not the ugliest of things. The decayed and degraded state of moral and patriotic feeling that thinks that nothing is worth war, that nothing is worth fighting for, is much worse. The person who has nothing for which he is willing to fight, nothing which is more important than his own personal safety, is a miserable creature and has no chance of being free unless being made so and kept so by the exertions of better men than himself. Today we honor those better men and women who have allowed us to remain free. We as Americans, we don't wish or seek war. We are a peaceful people. But if you as our enemy challenge us or fail to work with us to resolve differences through diplomatic channels, I can promise you that you will recognize the full force of our military strength. And when our military is called upon, you will face the harsh reality of someone else tucking your kids in at night. We do not want war, but we will end them, and we will win them. Let me conclude with this. Our country must fight harder to protect and give our veterans the services that they desperately deserve. My goal as your congressman is to have the VA provide the resources and programs not only to the veterans but also to their families. You should not have to call your member of Congress to get help with the Veterans Administration. We will fix that, and I'm 100% committed to doing so. May we all embrace the brave warriors that have sacrificed so much so that we can remain free. And may we as a nation never forget the meaning of the color red on our glorious flag, a reminder of the courage and the blood and lives lost in defense of this beautiful nation. Let us pay full respects to our flag, and let us not ever forget the heroes who served, understanding that they may sometime come home draped underneath that flag if needed. I want to thank the Reagan Library, the Foundation, John, for allowing me to be a part of this very special occasion. This is a dream come true for me to be able to speak on the lawn of our Graceland. May God bless the United States of America, and may God bless her warriors. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Congressman Garcia. Great to have you here today. Our keynote speaker today is a true patriot in every sense of the word. He served on the battlefield to defend our country's freedom, and he serves in the United States Congress today to fight for those he represents from the great state of Texas. Our speaker knew from an early age that he wanted to serve as a United States Navy SEAL. Following graduation, he reported for SEALs training in Coronado, which, incidentally, is where he met his wife, Tara. After graduating from SEAL training, he deployed to Fallujah, Iraq, for the first of 5 deployments overseas. On his third deployment in 2012, his life changed forever. 6 months into his tour, he was wounded by an IED blast in Afghanistan. His right eye was destroyed in the blast, and his left eye was badly damaged. In fact, doctors believe he might never see again. But after several difficult surgeries, he regained his sight in his left eye, a miracle, according to his surgeons. The hero sitting with us today refused to quit the military and went on to deploy twice more, once to the Middle East and once to South Korea. In 2016, he was medically retired as lieutenant commander after serving for 10 years. He left service with 2 Bronze Stars, one with Valor, the Purple Heart, the Navy Commendation Medal with Valor, among others. In November 2018, he was elected to represent the people of Texas's 2nd Congressional District as he sits on the Homeland Security and Budget Committees. His life has been defined by service before self. He knows there is no higher calling than service to the American people. It is beyond an honor to have him here with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant Commander and Congressman Dan Crenshaw.
Thank you all so much for that warm welcome. Thank you, Mike, for being here. I appreciate the hospitality in your amazing district. John, thank you for letting me be here and speak to this amazing group. Thank you to my wife. I want to say that, we're thanking veterans today. We're honoring veterans, but veterans' families really go through more hardship than you can imagine. My wife would certainly remind me of that. And they're the real heroes. They sit back while we're on deployment doing what we love, but not knowing what kind of danger we might be in, what kind of sacrifices might await us. So thank you all for being here. And of course, thank you to the wonderful men and women who work at the Reagan Library for their dedication, their hard work, and their hospitality. It's been absolutely incredible, and it's such an honor to be with you all on Veterans Day. It's an important day for the obvious reason, right? To honor our vets. Honor their sacrifice of their families, to tell them that we not only thank them for their service, but that we will never forget. But see, that's just the start. It seems to me we have grown accustomed to the ritual of thanking our veterans, and this is a good thing, no doubt. But I worry that we have also grown forgetful about the principles those same veterans stand for. I think on this Veterans Day, it might be worth remembering what it is veterans fight for in the first place. And of course, it's this. It's all of this. It's all of you. Now, not just the beautiful hills you see here. America is much more than her physical landscapes, as majestic as they are. It's the American spirit, this great American experiment. America is the greatest idea in human history. A republic, constructed upon the principle that government exists to protect your God-given rights. America is your freedom to speak freely, your freedom to pursue your happiness, your freedom to take risk, unburdened by the whims of a select elite few in government bureaucracy. Preserving the legacy that is the American spirit is no easy task. Though we pretend it is self-sustaining, in fact, it is not. President Reagan famously warned us that freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. I think there are many who rightfully fear that that moment is closer than we might have imagined. It's surprisingly easy these days to lose gratitude for the miracle that America is. Easier for many to embrace self-pity, resentment, and envy of another. It's always easier to demand more of others than it is yourself. Easier to feel like a victim instead of a victor. Accountability and personal responsibility are hard things, after all. Maybe it's here that veterans have something to teach us. So on this Veterans Day, I'll give you 5 lessons that we can learn from our veterans. These are 5 lessons in fortitude. Number 1, seek perspective. When I was hit by an IED in 2012 in Afghanistan, I was left blind for weeks. I was unsure if I'd ever see again. My doctors certainly did not think I would see again. This was perhaps the hardest physical trauma I'd ever dealt with. But it wasn't the hardest thing anyone had dealt with. Many of my teammates had paid a far greater price. Many Gold Star wives, my dear friends, were still without their soulmates. I laid there and I thought of my own mother, a young woman in her 30s with 2 small children who battled cancer for 5 long years before she lost that battle when I was 10. She didn't partake in self-pity. She dealt with her suffering with grace, humor, and grit. See, there's a hard truth that we must live by. Whatever you're going through, you've probably been through something harder, so you can deal with this too. And if this is indeed the hardest moment of your life, then consider this truth. Someone else has dealt with something harder, and they dealt with it better than you are dealing with it now. This is perspective in the most fundamental sense. And this seems like an especially important lesson in the year 2020. Times are hard for many this year, no doubt about it. But if we are being honest, this is not our country's darkest times, far from it. It behooves us to put our hardships in perspective. From perspective comes gratitude, and from gratitude comes hope, and from hope comes perseverance. We are a people that does not wallow in despair, but overcomes. And we do so because there is no other choice. Lesson number 2, do something hard. Modern society has fooled people into thinking the purpose of life is to end all suffering. Make all hardships go away. Seek comfort and pleasure as if these things are the ultimate goal, as if living your best life is nothing more than indulging in the pleasures of modern times. Many in our country have come to believe that what doesn't kill you makes you weaker. There is a belief that all opposing opinions are harmful to one's health, that safe spaces must be sought out to protect you from harm. But this is not true. The best things in life must be worked for. They must be sacrificed for. The truth is that suffering must not be avoided, but embraced. It is unavoidable, after all, because we live in the real world, not the world we wish were real. Veterans, and the vast majority of Americans for that matter, know there are no safe spaces in the real world. We know that true purpose, true happiness, is achieved through hardship. We know that in order to live your purpose, you must challenge yourself willingly. For the hardships that are imposed upon you, well, you must embrace the suck, as we say in the SEAL teams. You embrace it because you have no choice. You tell yourself a story of overcoming your hardships, not falling victim to it. There's value in our suffering. You punish yourself in the gym because it makes you stronger. You put in extra hours at work because it makes you more competitive. You train longer, you wake up earlier, and try to be kinder to those you might despise. These things are good because they are hard. You overcome your pain because to do so builds character. It builds fortitude. So do something hard. Lesson number 3, no plan B. In BUDS, the 6-month basic training that SEALs go through to prove themselves worthy, the only men that make it are those who never gave themselves a choice. This is a deeper concept than just not quitting. It is living according to the purpose, according to the mission that you set out for yourself. Those who ring the bell 3 times to signal that they have dropped out of training, they gave themselves a choice. They allowed themselves to have a plan B. Now, I don't mean plan B as a contingency. Everyone has a backup plan, or at least you should. If you want to be an artist, but you can't paint, and you change career paths as a result, I don't think that makes you a quitter. Quitting is something that happens deep within, when you know you gave up on the best version of yourself. It happens when you don't live according to the purpose, according to the mission that you knew that you could. Purpose is your plan A. It's giving 110%. Plan B is cutting corners. Plan B is doing just enough to get by. Plan B lands you in mediocrity, but living Plan A elevates you above your current self. The comforts of modern society allow many of us to make those excuses, to live a lesser version of our best self. We must avoid this temptation and live with no Plan B. Lesson number 4, the right sense of shame. In the SEAL teams, we often say, don't be that guy. This means exactly what it sounds like. Don't be the guy who forgets the right piece of gear on a mission. Don't be the guy who is late to muster. Don't be the weakest link. Others' lives are depending on it, so it's a pretty important principle to live by. Shame is good. Shame is accountability. Shame means you actually feel bad about your shortcomings instead of lazily accepting them. Too often these days we become obsessed with living our own truth. Our institutions, instead of forming our future generations into tough, courageous Americans, have instead sought to coddle our youth. Tell them they are never wrong, never in need of self-improvement. Self-esteem becomes a goal in itself without consideration for virtue or moral strength. But here's the hard truth. None of us are fine the way we are. And that's okay. We all have work to do. But that work will never get done. We will never hold ourselves accountable. We will never know what to strive for if we do not feel a sense of shame when we have done wrong. Lesson number 5, a sense of duty. The whole point of feeling shame is not just to make you feel bad. It is to pave the way for doing what is right, to live with duty. In the military, the concept of duty is so deeply ingrained that it becomes self-evident. One does the right thing because it is the right thing. End of story. To do otherwise is to betray your flag and your teammates. Sure, there are orders, rules in place to direct one's actions. No one is perfect, after all. But for the most part, this sense of duty must be self-actualizing. You have a duty to ensure your gear is squared away, your batteries charged, your magazines loaded. You will not be the weakest link. This has practical value, but also deeper moral value. To be a dutiful citizen is no different, at least it shouldn't be. We should strive to do the simplest of things right. Be on time, work hard, do what it takes. Help our neighbors before demanding that government does it for us. This has always been a key pillar of American exceptionalism. Pope John Paul II, St. John Paul II, for you Catholics in the audience, said that freedom consists not in doing what we like, but in having the right to do what we ought. Fundamentally, what does this mean? It means that our country, our great republic, is centered around this concept of a dutiful citizen. Freedom is not unbridled hedonism. It is ordered liberty. Only a moral, dutiful people can be trusted with freedoms. Otherwise, we are nothing but a society in turmoil and chaos. Laws can be enforced after they are broken, but it takes a good and moral people to avoid breaking them in the first place. And a proper sense of duty comes from a proper sense of moral truth. In the House of Representatives, the words "In God we trust" are inscribed above the chair of the Speaker of the House. Our laws, our country's founding, were based in absolute truth, derived from God. This anchors us, and it's more important than I think people realize. We avoid duty, we avoid truth at our own peril. Our society, our country cannot survive an increasing number of citizens that wish only to survive off the work and ingenuity of others. We have a duty to be stronger citizens if our great American experiment is to survive. And veterans have long sought to protect these values, to impart these lessons, because American values aren't necessarily self-sustaining. Personal responsibility, mental fortitude, moral truth, gratitude for our nation, liberty to pursue our happiness. These things must be taught and passed down. Our institutions must rediscover their purpose in molding our future generations instead of simply reflecting the emotional whims of a restless youth. We can only embark upon such a journey if we rediscover some gratitude for the foundations that make our country the miracle that indeed it is. This place, this idea, is built upon the greatest ideas that humankind ever had. From Jerusalem we learned moral truth. From Athens we discovered philosophy and reason. From Rome the rule of law and the structures of a republic. And from London the first elements of the free market, common law, and the revelation from the Magna Carta that even kings must be subject to laws. And we wrote these ideas down in Philadelphia. This grand experiment has created more good and more prosperity than any other in human history. Our story is unparalleled. It is one of true exceptionalism. It is why Reagan called us the last best hope on earth and paved the way for us to live up to that hope, to persevere. And I think we can. I think we must. I think the next century will be America's best and brightest if we only believe it is our duty to live up to our greatest ideals. God bless you. God bless our veterans, and God bless our great country. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Congressman. Well, now it's time for my favorite part of the program, where we recognize all of you who are here today representing the different branches of our military. Our orchestra will be performing a service medley. When you hear your branch's song, please stand so we can salute you. In addition, if you are a family member here representing a member of the military, please stand in their place when their branch's song is played so we can remember everyone who has participated or sacrificed in protecting our country's freedom.
To fight for the right and to build the nation's might, and the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the army goes rolling along. Then it's hi, hi, hey, the army's on its way. Count off the blessings loud and strong. 2, 3, 4, hop, 2, 3, 4, there we go. You will always know that the army goes rolling along.
Marines!
From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we will fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. For survival, right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marines. Coast Guard! We're always ready for the call. We place our trust in thee. Through howling gale and shot and shell to win the victory. Semper Paratus is our guide, our pledge, our gratitude. We're always ready, do or die. Like Coast Guard, we fight for you. Navy! Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. Farewell to college joys, we sail at break of day. Our last night ashore, hail to the foe. Until we meet once more, here's wishing you a happy voyage home.
Air Force!
Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, singing to meet our thunder. Atom boys, give her the gun. Down we dive, starting our flames from under. Off we climb, terrible roar. Living flame, down in flames, as I begins up the U.S. Air Force. Proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than right. America, America, may God thy gold refine, till all success beholding us, and every game divine. America,
Before we conclude today's program, I want to remind all of you here today and all of you watching online that Congressman Crenshaw has written a terrific book called Fortitude, American Resilience in the Era of Outrage. It's a roadmap for more resilient American culture and an advice book for finding the strength to deal with everyday frustrations and difficult challenges. For those of you sitting with us today, Congressman Crenshaw has agreed to sign copies of the book for you. He's going to be signing them right here in front of where this podium is. For those of you watching online, he has been kind enough to pre-sign a number of books, and if you go to our online store at reaganlibrary.com/store, you can purchase one of his pre-signed books. To everyone watching here and online, we hope to have the Reagan Library's doors open once again soon, and we hope to see you here when we do. Thanks to all of you for being with us here this morning. We will conclude today's program with the playing of God Bless America. God bless you, and a happy Veterans Day to you all.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her.